Oh, okay. Our opening didn't work.
And
It's
we
on.
are live.
We're live. I feel like my camera's not pointed in the, well, I guess it is. Anyway, so hi everybody. You want to try this again? No. Hi everybody. I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland. And this is, of course, CFL Talk 2, not 1, 2, because I just came back from meeting with the commissioner in the Canadian Football League and talking about stuff. We'll get that in a second. How's your day going, Aaron?
Day's been going pretty well, all things considered. I'm alive. The day's almost over. I get to do this show with you, which is absolutely awesome. And then from here, I get to go play hockey.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And I feel just the same and exactly the same. And I guess we can start with the team that's making a march to glory. And that, of course, is the Toronto Blue Jays, who hit a rung on the ladder to success yesterday, a victory that put them into the playoffs. I mean, I think the celebration was a little bit overkill. I don't know about you, but, they made the playoffs. But in baseball, making the playoffs is a chore. It is not easy. Not many teams make the playoffs in baseball. It's not like football, not like hockey, definitely not like basketball. So they accomplished a goal, and now that goal, all well and good that they made the playoffs. Now the march to finishing first. But please tell me about your feelings about this opportunity to play in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they're 90-66 now. It's the fastest they've ever gotten to the playoffs. They lead their division by 2.5 games over the New York Yankees. This is their third playoff berth in the past 4 years and their fourth playoff berth in 6 seasons. They missed in 2021 at the start of COVID and 2024 after a particularly disastrous tail end of the season. Now, it's been kind of hard for them to win games in the postseason. They haven't won a postseason game since 2016, and that's 9 years. Unlike the past 3 trips, they hope this year they won't have to play in the AL wild card round. This is going to be their first crack at a division title since 2015, as they close out the regular season with a 6-game homestand against Boston and Tampa Bay. They're heading back to the postseason with Bo Bichette hopefully coming back in the next 6 games or so. Chris Bassett has just been placed retroactive to Saturday onto the 15-game disabled list. Injured list with lower back stiffness. They won 3 out of their past 7 games. They were on a 4-game losing streak coming out of this weekend when they finally won on Saturday. And they actually managed to celebrate in Kansas City. So that's kind of fun to be celebrating on the road. But the goal here at this point has to be for them to get into first overall.
And it's going to be a tough. They're up against the Red Sox, a team that is really good, while the Yankees are playing the White Sox. So right now the Red Sox are a bit better than the White Sox. While a bit isn't really telling the story, they're a lot better than the White Sox. So while the Jays are seeing red, they're going to need to be really good. And, the importance of finishing first is so simple and so basic and so obvious. While teams are still playing, your guys are resting. And when I say guys, I mean pitchers. So the pitchers are resting. The bats, you don't like that too much because they could go cold, right? There could be that, right? But when it comes to pitchers, the Yankees and the Red Sox, if they finish below Toronto, are going to be playing each other. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to have to throw their best pitchers at each other. That's what they're going to have to do. There's no question about it. So they're going to use up some arms. Now, the recovery is another story, how quickly they can recover and all that kind of stuff. But let's say they go the distance. That's going to be some wear and tear on their pitching. Now, the bats aren't affected in the same way, but we always talk about the playoffs, and winning the World Series is all about pitching. So there's that.
No, and it is true. You know, at 88 and 68, just ahead of Boston, who are 85 and 71. The Yankees are currently in top. Now, if everything goes disastrously wrong, there is still the opportunity for things to change. But I don't think that the Jays are in that sort of a position.
They can't be swept.
No, that's the one thing they have to do at this point is, and I know you and I have preached this before. When they've had good stints, we've always been preaching that they have to maintain at least 500 ball in order to be successful and get where they want to be.
This more often than ever before.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, you're looking at it here. Detroit's on a 6-game losing streak. Seattle's won 4 in a row. The Yankees have won 2 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. You know, we've got to keep pushing here. There's no reason to let up. There's no reason to take our foot off the gas. Potentially, yes, rest some pitchers. That's cool. I get it. But
the real deal is the run production, Aaron. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's the part that is most frustrating for Jays fans. This is a team that can score 6-7 runs in a game, and now they're having difficulty getting a second run. I mean, they did lose 20-1, so you know. And I know it wasn't the pitching's fault because the third baseman came in and he wasn't exactly your typical reliever. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. I did mean to interrupt, but I apologize.
I 100% get it. That getting out hit 27-3 is definitely not the way that you want to go out. And when you're down to using position players to pitch, you know you've hit that certain point where you can't really fold the tents and go home in Major League Baseball, but you have to kind of ride it out and hope it doesn't get too much worse. So
trusting your teammates is a great phrase. It's a fantastic phrase, trusting your teammates. But I think by extension, what we're talking about here and what the next thing our first baseman should be talking about is earning your teammates' trust. So there has to be some execution and something that shows you deserve your teammates' trust. There's the earning part of it that right now the Jays aren't doing. They're living off previous success, and now they need some present success in this last week and a bit to finish first and ensure that they get the best crack of moving on in the playoffs.
Yeah, and as it currently stands, you know, they've got their final homestand is going to be 6 games. They're hoping to win out in that, you know, just to sort of make sure that they cement everything. Like we are down to the short strokes of the season here. At the end of the day, you know, you're looking at another 3 games versus Boston, and then 3 games versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Coincidentally, I'll be in the stands for the games against the game on Wednesday against Boston. That's a 7:07 start, so happy to see that. I'm missing the final Looney Dog night of the season, but that's okay. I think I'll live.
Oh, well. Well. All right, so that sets us up now for the other team in Toronto that hasn't had as much success. But the one thing they've been consistent with, Aaron, and that's Toronto FC, is draws. They've had so many draws this year.
They are currently 5 wins, 13 losses, and 12 ties for 27 points. They've extended their unbeaten streak currently to 6 matches with a 1-1 road tie against the Columbus Crew, who are 13-7-11. And that's courtesy of Richie Lariere's second half equalizer. Robin Fraser made 4 changes from last weekend's lineup against the New England Revolution, with Kobe Franklin, Kevin Long, Lazar Stefanovic, and DeAndre Carr making way for Richie Larea, Sigurd Rosted, Kosi Thompson, and Derek Etienne Jr. They were forced into early defensive action when Wessam Abu Ali burst through on a counterattack, but George Mihailovic and Richie Larea recovered well enough to snuff out the danger and delay Columbus an opener in the very early stages. They did find themselves down, unfortunately, 1-0 after the first 9 minutes when Abu Ali latched onto Max Arfsted's pass and finished it in the 16th minute. Stood as the lone goal of the opening half. But the Reds finally pulled even. Jonathan Osorio collected a short pass from Derek Etienne before sliding it through to Richie Larea, who capped it with a shot past Patrick Schultz. So that stood as the tying goal for the rest of it and managed to that helped Toronto now find themselves 4 spots out of the basement. So that's some comfort to long-suffering TFC fans. I do apologize, folks. It's been a hard year.
Yeah, it is what it is. Let's go to the Canadian Football League, and I want let's talk about. Okay, let's start with the Al Sweep Season Series.
Yeah, it didn't end well for the Argonauts, unfortunately. They've completed their first 3-game season sweep of the Argonauts since 2011. They beat them on 21-19 on Friday night. Multiple sacks from Isaac Adeyemi Berglund and Mustafa Johnson and Sean Oakman. And Wesley Sutton actually clinched the game with an interception. This improved the Alouettes to 7-7, moving them 4 points clear of Toronto in the East. MBT overcame 3 first-half interceptions, finished 18 for 30 with 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Sneed led with 68 receiving yards, and Tyson Philpott cut 6 of his 11 targets for 66 yards. Jared Dagey was in with Nick Arbuckle and Chad Kelly both sidelined. He went 25 for 37 for 207 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Jake Herslow extended his touchdown streak to 6 games. Been a tough row for them to hoe.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. They are not mathematically eliminated. There's still hope, but sometimes the math gets very slim. And right now the math is very slim. It basically comes down to the Argos have to win all their games and certain teams have to lose all their games. It pretty much comes down to that. Mark Leggio gives the Tiger Cats a walk-off win against the Elks.
Yeah, he called game with a 41-yard field goal. It was a close game. It turned out to be 29-27. Cody Fajardo actually hit up Curly Gittens in the third quarter, and that looked like that would be it pretty much. Mitchell finished 28 and 40 with 311 passing yards and 2 touchdowns to go with 1 INT. Greg Bell carried the ball 17 times for 93 yards. Kenny Lawler got a 15-yard touchdown in the second quarter to give his team the halftime lead. Now, Hamilton was unable to clinch a playoff berth despite the win because of BC's win over Calgary on Friday, but the remaining top of the East Division with a 4-point lead over the Alouettes. They head into Week 17 riding a 3-game win streak at this point. So they look like they have things well in hand. Not clinched, but certainly not in danger of falling out of the playoff picture. Montreal, with that win to get themselves to 7-7, find themselves now tied with Winnipeg and BC in the West and improving their shot at a postseason berth as well.
Absolutely. The Bombers end their 3-game losing streak.
If there's one thing that they say about teams from Ottawa is that they're good for what ails you. Trey Vaval had a 128-yard touchdown return on a missed field goal. That was a dynamite run. They pantsed the Ottawa Redblacks 26-18 at TD Place on Saturday. So that actual 128-yard run was the longest play in franchise history. Chris Streveler completed just 3 of his 8 passes for 54 yards and an INT, but he did rush for 72 yards and a touchdown. So,
and this
Ottawa's
defense bailed them.
Yeah, seriously, their defense came up huge for them, and that's something you need to see going into the playoffs.
Absolutely, but they definitely want to see a little more passing out of the quarterback, I think, a little bit. Nathan Rourke talking about quarterbacks and success.
Yeah, they just ran roughshod over the Stampeders. That was just that was demoralizing to watch. 52-23, the final. He was incomplete on just 4 of his 24 attempted passes. He threw for 331 yards, 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 43 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 26-yard run in the first quarter. Keon Hatcher Sr. was the lead man on the receiving end. He came down with 8 catches for 147 yards. It wasn't the reunion Vernon Adams Jr. would have envisioned prior to his first meeting against the Lions since being traded by BC. He threw 2 picks in the first quarter and was eventually ruled out in the third quarter after sustaining an injury. So not exactly the happiest of homecomings for PA.
No, not at all. We have ourselves the PWHL to talk about. Good news there.
Yeah. They did a whole bunch of neutral site games last year. They called it the Stadium Takeover Tour. The good news is, out of all of that, Vancouver drew 19,038 fans. Other stops included Edmonton, Quebec City, Detroit, Denver, Buffalo, Raleigh, and St. Louis. According to the Sports Business Journal, Seattle and Vancouver have each received more than 5,000. So that means that the teams are undoubtedly going to be amongst, if not at the top of the PWHL's attendance standings in their inaugural season. This year they went from 6 to 8 teams. Looks like they're aiming for 12 by the time the first CBA is completed in 2031.
Let's talk about hockey in the men's version in the National Hockey League. Well, ex-Leaf Bernie Parent passed away.
Yeah, passed away at the age of 80. The Flyers and the Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education Program were both expressing their condolences at the passing of Bernie. One of the most well-loved players from that organization. The Flyers picked him up in '67. Initially expected Parent to split time with Doug Favell in the net, but injuries to Favell opened the door for Parent to take over as the team's main option. He went on to win a Stanley Cup along with the Conn Smythe Trophy that same season. He was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame back in 1984.
Absolutely. Ed Jockman, another death of a goaltender in the National Hockey League.
He passed away at the age of 86 back on September 15th. He was a 6-time All-Star. He won the Vezina in 1970-71. More famously known for his play with the New York Rangers. He backstopped them to the Stanley Cup final in '72, and his number is one of the few that's actually retired in the rafters at Madison Square Garden. They retired it back in 1989. He was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1987.
He had some funny stories about the size of the rats in Madison Square Garden.
Some of them were scary.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Sens. What's going on with Cleven?
So during the third period of the exhibition game on Sunday, unfortunately, Cleven had to leave the game. He hit the boards rather awkwardly. Initially, I thought, like a lot of other armchair coaches did, that it was going to be a knee or the lower leg, but it actually turns out it's his right shoulder that he had an issue with. Travis Green has no details currently on the nature or extent of the injury, but it suggested that the reasons for Cleven's exit were more than just precautionary. This raises obviously some concerns because he's a big defensive body on the right-hand side that everybody could use. So if this goes south, that could spell issues for Ottawa leading into the season.
There was a wee bit of a smattering of, let's just say, Battle of Ontario smack talk and play.
There was a lot of that. Some of the crowd pops were quite interesting, especially given the fact that it was in Ottawa.
It was, from what I saw, it was. Well, we'll talk about the Leafs when we get to the Leafs. The Jets dropped their first preseason contest to Minnesota in OT.
Yeah, it was a 3-2 loss. The majority of the Jets roster was players from junior or the AHL last season. One of the only veterans in the game on Sunday was Morgan Barron, who jammed home an out-front rebound on a 5-on-3 power play, just 5:33 into the game. Kevin He managed to get in on the scoring with an assist to Danny Zhilkin, who potted his first goal of the preseason on a one-timer. Samuel Fagemo picked up helpers on both markers, to which the Jets ended up 9-3 on the shot clock while holding on to a 2-0 lead. The Wild tied everything up in the early third. And at the end of the day, it was unfortunate, but a good learning experience, I think, for the rookies. Winnipeg is going to be playing Edmonton tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Huberdeau, who drew a little bit of reaction referring to practice and its insignificance.
Yeah, for an individual that's been through the league's help program, assistance program, he was part of the return package that sent Matthew Tkachuk to Florida. His time in Calgary hasn't gone exactly according to plan. and he's been coming to kind of under fire because of his underperformance. Given that, I mean, he was joking when he said it, but yeah, he said, I just woke up. I didn't feel like skating, so I didn't skate. That's what happened. I understand that sort of getting something out there for the media and getting something out there for the clicks, but there's got to be a better way to do it. He's got 6 years left on his 8-year, $84 million extension he signed with the Flames when they picked him up in 2022. So,
a decision not well made.
Uh,
It is what it is. Let's talk about the split squad results, Oilers Flames.
So, Battle of Alberta picked up with a split squad game. Edmonton lost 3-2 at Rogers Place, but at the same time, their visiting squad, Calgary, 3-0 at the Saddle Dome. So, they dominated the shot clock at Rogers Place. They outshot Calgary 30-14, but it was Calgary that ended up getting the win. Morgan Frost scored twice for the Flames, including the overtime winner, just 107 into the extra frame. On the flip side, the Oilers locked down the Flames with a shutout in Calgary. They got goals from Kasperi Kapanen, Connor Clattenburg, and Riley Stillman to salt that away. Kapanen opened the scoring early after a great pass from rookie Isaac Howard. Clattenburg impressed, made it 2-0 before dropping the gloves to cap out his game. At the end of the day, the Oilers probably should have won both, but good to see them getting the reps in at least.
Kraken beat the Canucks.
Yeah, Nikita Tolopilo measured up. Ty Young, unfortunately, didn't. Tolopilo made a series of sensational first-period stops to keep the Canucks in their opening preseason game against the Kraken. Gave way midway through the second after stopping all of the shots that he faced. Tola kept us in there early, said Adam Foote. He did a good job until our defense felt a little more comfortable. Pretty happy with his game. The Kraken then scored 3 goals in less than 4 minutes in the second period to build a 4-1 cushion en route to a 5-3 win. So, it's a tough go. It was a tough go for Young, but a good showing for Tolopilo.
Leafs beat the Sens 4-3.
A lot of interesting shenanigans going on in this game. I don't know if you caught it, Frank, but there was
sideshows. I saw the sideshows, and I was in. Well, I'll let you speak. I'll if you don't mention what I mention, I'll mention it depending on what you talk about. Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad that Calle Yarncroke, Nicholas Robertson, and William Villeneuve each had goals in the opening period. That was a good sign. Ridley Greig put the Senators on the board 1:45 into the second before Matthew Barbolini pumped Toronto's lead to 4-1 just under 4 minutes later. Vladislav Peksa made 16 saves on 18 shots for Toronto. Arthur Aktayamov stopped 16 of 17 shots, so that was good. Linus Ullmark gave up 3 goals on 8 shots in the opening period. For a guy that came as highly lauded as he did from Boston, that's a problem. The good news is Mads Sogard made 11 saves on 12 shots in relief. So they're going to have a chance to go head-to-head again on Tuesday at Scotiabank.
Well, Sogard doesn't even have to set up. He just stand there. He's such a big – he laid on his side. He'd cover the whole net twice. Amazing game. What I'll say is this. The players that were on the ice for that game are all players that don't have a position saved for them on the Leafs. And that's right. The one that's the closest is Jan Krook. He's a guy that probably has a spot with the Leafs. But Kampf is not assured of getting a spot. Robertson's not assured of getting a spot. And what impressed me was Villeneuve and his goal and his shot from the point. The one thing that the Leafs don't have is a defenseman that can shoot the puck from the blue line and that find its way to the net. They seem to, for example, with Riley, his shots don't make it through often enough. He does when he gets the puck and he's going in on goal and he ends up halfway to the net. That's a different story. But it's the ones from the point that don't go through. Leafs need that. They need a guy back there. The quarterback needs to be able to get the pucks through to the net because rebounds, a lot of goals can be scored on rebounds, especially when you have a kid like Nyzee there and of course, the captain Matthews. Yeah, it was a very interesting game. We saw DNA in display. We saw it in full volume. This was a team that didn't worry about scoring. They worried about not allowing goals first. Even though there were 3 goals scored, this was a makeup of players who weren't really with the team. They showed that they're capable of playing defensively. And they did the most important thing you ask of a defense in every sport: bend, don't break. They bent quite a bit, but they didn't break.
And at the end of the day, Michael Pezzetta ended up having a bit of a day himself.
Man, he was swimming. He was swimming. You know full well. I got to tell you, I didn't like the way he played goal. That was tempting fate there. He was swishing and swashing. What a difference between the 2 goaltenders. The Russian before stood up, and he hardly ever went down and made some saves. But both ways, we saw defenseman Danford basically muscle a puck out of a Sens stick to an open net was there, but he did a great job of muscling that puck away from the Sens stick, and it didn't end up a goal. That could have been a goal. So that's what the Leafs need. They need a real respect for defensive hockey. That's the DNA change that the Leafs are trying to, their thinking is real simple. For me, I describe it as simply as this. They want to win more games 2-1 than 8-7. The 8-7 works when you have a guy like Marner on your team. But without Marner, you've got to respect the other team's ability to score, because it's harder for you to score.
100%. That's exactly what they've got to look at. So glad they're getting tougher a little bit on the back end. Absolutely.
Stolar's contract? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
It's a numbers game, man. He finished his first year in Toronto with 21 wins and a .926 save percentage. Tops amongst NHL goaltenders who played 20-plus games, but he only played 34 of them. He's in the second season of his 2-year, $5 million contract that he signed in 2024. He tried to put a deadline on the negotiations, saying he hopes to have a deal done before the start of the regular season. He's going to let his agent, he said, and Tree talk that out. Hopefully we can get something done soon. Alain Roy and the Leafs are exchanging numbers quite frequently, which is a good sign. But I think it's where he wants to come in. That is a bit of an issue. He's only got 142 career games. That's the thing. And in those 142 games, he's got 64 wins.
Yeah, and he's got to play more than 35 games a year to expect to go up over and above 3.54 million. Once we go above that, he's got to play 65 games. But I think the Leafs are sold, and these 2 goaltenders have not proven one of them can play 60 games. Wall was out with an illness. Season hasn't even started, Aaron.
Wow, and here's the thing: Stolar still has another year left on his contract as well. So
you don't want to anger him. The point is, they want to give him a contract before that runs out, because if it doesn't run out and he has a real good year, come next year he could get one of those $7 or $8 million contracts. Not right now, because the fact is he did not play a lot of games last year. He played effectively when he played, but he hasn't played that starter money, the $8 million that we're seeing going to players. It's going there because those guys are the beast. They're the guys that are playing 80% of the games. That's as simple as that. I mean, no goalie's going to play all the games nowadays. You have to have a backup. But a backup 15-20 is about right when you talk about having a star goaltender and then having a backup. You've got 2 goaltenders here that are fighting to establish one of them as a starter, a full-time starter. We know they can start. We just don't know that they can start full-time. And that's important. And this Domi Michelli thing, I get the story, and they're talking about Nyes having to be the guy, not to replace Marner. But at the end of the day, replacing Marner is about not allowing a lot of goals there. And that I'm going to go back to that. And as long as Michelli and Domi can set those other 2 guys up and get them on the score sheet and not give up defensively, this team will be fine.
Yeah, it's the fact that he's signed an 8-year extension worth $46.5 million. I think that is causing concern for a lot of people, because this is that whole concept of paying players for future value as opposed to the "what have you done for me lately" approach. And
it's $6 million, Aaron, in a couple of years is not going to be it's going to be a middling salary.
For sure.
right? So,
Yeah.
so this could age well. I'm not saying it will. I'm the first person that said that they overpaid him. What he's done is he's shown a lot of promise, and I agree with you when it comes to, are we rewarding you or are we paying you in advance? And right now it's more advance, but he can change that all in 1 year, just like Nylander did. Right.
Oh, 100%.
Right. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for Nyes to be effective, and you're looking for the Leafs to win with him in the lineup. You're looking for him to score some goals and be the reason why the team wins, and also be a good distraction for Matthews to get back into that 50, 60, 70 goal range.
100%. And you know what? That is on him. This is essentially his show me contract. At the end of this, depending on how well he performs based on what he's already been given, that'll determine his worth further down the road. So this could either be really good for him or it could come back to bite him in the rear.
Yeah, yeah. So I made a mistake and don't have the opening and that stuff worked out. I feel so terrible. I'm so bothered by the fact that I didn't do that. But you know what? Maybe I can correct the extra.
Well,
so give it a try.
You can certainly do that. Do we want to touch on the CFL, or do we want to give that?
Yeah. Okay. Go. I forgot, and you're right. Yeah. So what we're talking about here is the Canadian Football League. I'll just quickly. The major changes are they're taking out the center stripe. You're losing 10 yards there. Then they're taking the end zones around the league down to 10 yards. They're moving the goalposts to the end of the end zone. And the rouge now is something that has to be, you can't just kick a field goal, miss the field goal, and go into the seats and then get a point. The ball has to be in play in that 10-yard zone where the goalposts were in front of the goalposts. So the team has to make a play on the ball if it sits there. The pressure for them to pick it up and run, of course, is always with the kicker, could be able to go there and pick up the ball. So it's gonna create a different situation. And when quarterbacks are in the red zone, the goalposts are no longer going to be in play. Your call, Aaron.
Well, I think they mentioned that it was actually going to be a 15-yard end zone as opposed to a 10-yard end zone, which I'm okay with.
The field is down to 10.
15 down to 20 down to 15 was what I heard.
Oh, okay.
But hey, it's still in flux. It's not 100% nailed down yet. I like the change to the rouge. I'm not a big fan of teams winning it on missing a field goal. I'll be honest with you. I'm okay with that change. The benches on opposite sides of the field now. That is a little more interesting when it comes to separating the players. You have less time for between bench shenanigans. I'm okay with that. Not necessarily on board with them shortening the field to 100 yards and reducing the size of the end zones. I am intrigued to see how that 35-second shot clock or play clock is going to work. Because that's actually supposed to start as soon as the play is blown dead, as opposed to having the referee whistle it in for the start of the next
I asked the commissioner, how are you going to enforce that? I wanted to understand how they're going to enforce it, because teams have a tendency of dragging their feet wherever possible. So there's going to be a lot of flags early until people get the message that, because now it's not up to the officials to say, okay, start the clock, right? Now it's just going to automatically start. And that means hurry up offense is now part of the rules. Essentially, that's what's going to end up happening, is that there's going to be a hurry up offense.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, because it will mean that teams, in order to get the yard that they need, because we're still sticking with, thank God, 3 downs, means they'll have to go to the air even more, which is going to speed up the pace of play a little bit and also make things more exciting as teams go for bigger gains. So we'll see. I mean, the whole stated intention was to increase scoring by anywhere from 10 to 30 points per game. If that isn't realized by the end of 27, 28, they may end up having to change more stuff to try to fix what they've broken. But I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm certainly not ready to set the entire building on fire as some CFL fans are over these proposed changes. I'm more curious than anything else.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to create some uniformity in the end zones.
For sure.
And for those of us that go to BMO, it means that they'll probably be able to eliminate the turf and it'll be all grass now. It also means the field is more symbiotic when it comes to soccer, right? That's why the turf has to be there, because the soccer field and the where you play is much smaller than it is in the Canadian Football League football field.
I'm glad that they got everybody to agree to it. So I'm more curious just to see how all of that worked. There was a joke going around that nobody was expecting the deal with the Bills to bring such awful fruit so quickly, but we'll have to see how.
I don't think one thing has to do with the other. No. I don't think they have anything to do with each other. All right, thanks for doing this, Aaron.
Appreciate that, Frank. We'll see you on Friday.
Yep, he's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Sneeshy. Thank you for watching.